Why is it that the people who love you the most sometimes seem to pull away just when you need them most? One moment, they're your greatest supporter, present, engaged, and encouraging. The next, they're distant, quiet, and unresponsive. It's easy to mistake this shift for rejection, but here's a powerful truth: sometimes, distance isn't a sign of fading love, it's love in disguise. Real love doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it whispers. Sometimes, it retreats to protect itself or to protect you. Welcome to Motivation for Success, the channel where we unlock the deeper truths about personal growth, self-discovery, and the journey to success. Today, we're peeling back the layers of love's most misunderstood expression, the quiet moments, the pauses, and even the distance that makes you question everything. But stick with us, because once you see love from this perspective, you'll never look at it the same way again. Love is a force unlike any other. It's gentle like a spring breeze but can be as turbulent as a raging storm. And one of its most puzzling paradoxes is this: the ones who love you the most often push you away the hardest. If you've ever found yourself thinking, "Why are they ignoring me?" or "Did I do something wrong?" You're not alone. But let me challenge that perspective. Sometimes, the distance isn't a sign of neglect. Sometimes, it's love doing its deepest work behind the scenes. According to Denzel Washington, love doesn't always show up in the loud, flashy ways we expect. It doesn't always appear in constant texts, daily calls, or endless check-ins. True love can be quiet, even invisible at times. Washington reminds us that, sometimes, the ones who love you the most are fighting battles you can't see, battles they're trying to win so they can love you better. When people think of love, they often expect grand gestures, gifts, declarations, and constant reassurance. But here's the truth: love isn't always loud. Sometimes, it shows up in quiet moments, in the sacrifices that go unnoticed, and in the silent decisions made to protect your heart. Think about the people who love you the most. Have they ever gone quiet during a tough season in their life? Maybe they didn't text you back as quickly as before, or they seemed distant at family gatherings. Your mind probably filled in the blanks with worst-case scenarios. They must not care anymore. Maybe I'm not important to them. But here's where Denzel Washington's perspective comes in: sometimes, people withdraw to protect the love they have for you. The weight of love is heavy. The closer someone feels to you, the more they fear hurting you. So, rather than risk it, they retreat. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of care. Washington explains that people who love deeply are often afraid of not being enough for the ones they love. It's not indifference. It's love in its raw, unpolished form. Every person carries insecurities. Some hide them better than others, but love has a way of exposing them all. The deeper the love, the deeper the fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being a burden. Fear of not being enough. This fear doesn't come from a place of selfishness, it comes from love itself. The more someone cares about you, the more they fear letting you down. And sometimes, that fear makes them pull back. But here's the truth most people miss: they're not pulling away because they love you less. They're pulling away because they're afraid they aren't enough for you. If you've ever felt ignored, overlooked, or distant from someone you love, it's easy to fall into the trap of self-blame. Did I do something wrong? Why aren't they talking to me? But here's a perspective shift that can change everything. Is this about me, or is it about what they're dealing with? 9 times out of 10, it's about them, not you. Denzel Washington puts it perfectly: sometimes, people aren't stepping away from you, they're stepping away from their own chaos so they don't burden you with it. Let that sink in for a moment. They're not running from you. They're running from the storm inside themselves. They're trying to protect you from the parts of themselves they're still working on. Instead of seeing it as rejection, see it for what it really is: an act of love. But here's the catch: accepting this truth isn't easy. When we love someone, we want them to stay close. We want their presence, their attention, and their comfort. But love doesn't always work like that. True love isn't about constant proximity. It's about understanding that sometimes love needs space to grow. True love allows room for reflection, healing, and growth. It creates space for people to face their struggles so they can return stronger, better, and more whole. This might be hard to hear, but sometimes love steps back so it can step forward again. So, the next time you feel ignored by someone you love, don't rush to conclusions. Don't let doubt fill the silence. Instead, ask yourself, are they stepping away from me, or are they stepping away from their own chaos? When you shift your perspective, you'll see that love doesn't disappear in distance. Sometimes, it grows stronger in the quiet. If this message gave you clarity, let us know in the comments. Have you ever felt someone's absence and later realized it wasn't about you? Your story could be the light someone else needs. When someone loves you deeply, they carry a weight most people never see. Your happiness, your peace, and your well-being become a responsibility they willingly shoulder, even when it's not theirs to carry. But here's the part that's often misunderstood: the heavier that weight becomes, the more they might retreat. This isn't abandonment. It's a reflection of just how much they care. Denzel Washington put it perfectly when he said, "Love isn't about perfection, it's about persistence." People who love you don't always have the words, the timing, or the perfect answers. But their love is still real. Love doesn't always look like constant texts, reassurance, or perfect timing. Sometimes, love looks like silence. It looks like distance. It looks like stepping away to recharge. Think about it like this: a phone can't keep running on a dead battery. No matter how much you need it, it has to be recharged. The people who love you are no different. They give so much of themselves that eventually, they have to pull back to refuel. They're not stepping away from you, they're stepping away from their own chaos so they can come back stronger for you. But here's where it gets tricky. When someone you love pulls away, doubt creeps in. Did I do something wrong? Are they mad at me? But most of the time, it's not about you at all. They're not leaving. They're resetting. They're finding the strength to love you better. So, before you assume the worst, pause. Ask yourself, are they walking away from me, or are they walking toward their own peace? 9 times out of 10, it's the latter. True love doesn't vanish in silence. It's still there, working quietly in the background. Remember, even Jesus withdrew to pray. Even the strongest among us need moments to recharge. So, give them grace. Be patient. Let them breathe. Because the ones who love you the most aren't walking away, they're coming back stronger. If this message hit home, drop a comment below. Have you ever had to give someone space only to see them come back better than before? Share your story, it could be the encouragement someone else needs. Love speaks many languages, and not all of them are loud. Some people express love through words, showering you with affirmations and reminders of your worth. Others show it through actions, doing things for you, supporting you, or being present when you need them most. But then there's a love that's harder to recognize. It's the love found in silence, in distance, and in the spaces they intentionally create. This kind of love is easy to misinterpret, but here's the truth: it's not absence. It's meaning. It's intention. Not everyone will love you in the way you expect them to. We're conditioned to believe that love should be loud, obvious, and constantly visible. But love doesn't follow our rules. Just because it doesn't look the way you imagined doesn't mean it's not real. As Denzel Washington puts it, real love isn't always convenient. It's not always pretty. It's raw, unfiltered, and sometimes it looks like silence. Those words carry weight. Real love doesn't seek applause. It doesn't need to be seen to be real. Sometimes, love works quietly, behind the scenes, and it's no less powerful than love that's loud and expressive. But here's where most people get it wrong: when someone you love pulls away, your mind starts racing. Did I do something wrong? Do they still care about me? The urge to fill in the blanks with doubt is natural, but it's not always the truth. Before you assume the worst, pause. Ask yourself, is this absence really absence, or is it love working in disguise? That shift in perspective can change everything. Instead of seeing silence as neglect, you begin to see it as preparation. Instead of viewing distance as disinterest, you see it as intention. Love isn't always about being seen. Sometimes, it's about growing, healing, and coming back stronger. If you've ever loved someone deeply, you already know this. Sometimes you have to step back, not to leave, but to love better. If this resonates with you, let us know in the comments. Have you ever misinterpreted love's silence as indifference? Share your story below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this message is resonating with you, take a moment to reflect on someone you've been feeling distant from. Is it possible that their silence is love in disguise? If you can relate to this, share your story in the comments below. Have you ever felt ignored by someone you love, only to realize later it was for a reason you never understood at the time? Your story could be the encouragement someone else needs today. Love is complicated. It's not always loud, and it's definitely not always obvious. But that doesn't make it any less real. If you take one thing away from this video, let it be this: sometimes, when they pull away, they're not running from you, they're preparing to love you better. Thank you for watching today's episode of Motivation for Success. If this message inspired you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder about love, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world, and it helps spread these messages of hope, love, and inspiration. Drop a comment below and tell us, have you ever felt distant from someone you loved? How did you find understanding in that space? We'd love to hear your story. Remember, the one who loves you the most isn't perfect. But they're trying. They're learning. And sometimes, they're loving you in ways you don't yet recognize. Stay patient. Stay hopeful. And most importantly, stay open to love's many expressions. Thank you for joining us today. If this video inspired you, please hit the subscribe button, like the video, and share it with someone who needs a little motivation today. See you next time on Motivation for Success.